Well, happening right now, Vice President Joe Biden and the 8 remaining Supreme Court justices are among thousands attending this morning's funeral for Justice Antonin Scalia, one of Scalia's 9 children. The Reverend Paul Scalia will lead the Mass at the nation's largest Roman church. The Basilica of the National Shrine of Immaculate Conception, Washington, can hold at least 3,500 people. The court's longest-serving justice died just last week at age 79. So the big question, of course, has been on everyone's mind. What happens next? To talk more about the vacancy on the High Court, we're joined by Seattle attorney Jennifer Cannon-Unone. Jennifer, good morning. Thank you for being here with us again. We appreciate it. Let's talk about this. He was very conservative, a constitutional traditionalist. What can we expect now in his vacancy?
An enormous impact, really. Before, with Justice Scalia, there were 5 conservative justices and there were 4 liberal justices. That meant that most cases that went before the Supreme Court, the conservatives would prevail. Now there's this opportunity to tip the balance and really change the shape of the Supreme Court. And there's a lot at stake here. There are very big cases that impact us all on the Supreme Court docket right now. Abortion, immigration, lots of cases like that.
So many. You know, we've heard a lot about this now, the death of Scalia creeping into the campaigns, some people calling for Obama to wait to appoint him. Can you kind of explain what the process is of appointing a Supreme Court justice?
Sure. Well, the Constitution says that the President of the United States is obligated to appoint a Supreme Court justice to fill a vacancy. Then it is up to the Congress to go ahead and confirm that vacancy, that person that the president has appointed. Now, there's of course a lot of talk in the news about Congress either not holding these hearings or if they do, not confirming it. If that's the case, then it's up to the new president of the United States who's going to have that opportunity to appoint a new Supreme Court justice that can reshape that court.
Now, that doesn't mean the Supreme Court goes on a full stop. Cases will still be decided. What happens in a case of, say, immigration, abortion? What happens then if they're deadlocked?
So, good question. If there's a tie, then it's the Supreme Court's job to resolve differences and disputes in the lower court. And so if there's a tie, there's 2 options. First, they could hold on to it and re-argue it, or they could simply have the lower court's ruling affirmed. It won't set a national precedent, but it will be controlling in that jurisdiction.
So in that state or in that jurisdiction, what have you. Interesting. Now, there has also been talk about what the Supreme Court's duty is. Is it their duty to interpret the Constitution or uphold the Constitution? And I think that, you know, Antonin Scalia did a lot of upholding it. What do you think could be the future of what happens in the next?
Sure, absolutely. And Anton Scalia was an originalist, so he believed that the Constitution is not a moving document. And the liberals on the court believe that the Constitution should change with the times because the times obviously change. So with a liberal justice, then there's going to be many more cases that can go before the Supreme Court that will that could change the balance and reshape that. And I think that a lot of these cases, particularly the controversial cases where there's different opposite holdings, I think those cases are actually going to be held on to and they'll wait for the next vacancy to be filled.
Excellent. Thank you so much for being here with us again, Jennifer. Always a pleasure to talk to you and have us explain all these issues. We will talk to you again soon, perhaps when they name someone.
Absolutely. Thank you for having me.
All right. Natasha.
Thanks, ladies. All right, more than